you to this web series in which we bring great episodes about nature and learning in nature. Regional Museum of Natural History Bhubaneswar welcomes you to Nature Classrooms, Learning in Nature, Learning with Nature. Of all things in the biodiversity, in the gamut of environment and nature, we have thought of focusing on campus biodiversity. Why so? Because campus is a place which is nearest to you, across your home, your hostel, your office, your school, everywhere you've got a little campus around you. So why not delve a bit deeper into campus and find out what does biodiversity exactly have to offer? In biodiversity, there are big components like tigers, lions, flora, jungles and forests. But have we thought that little creatures around us are also important? The little animal diversity around us in our own place also matters a lot. So here we are presenting you a series of episodes on campus biodiversity. Today's episode would focus on spiders and arachnids. Later on we will go ahead and look into the lives of different other creatures which you find around you. I hope the series will be entertaining and fun learning for you. So here we are taking up a new subject on arachnids. Why are arachnids important? Are arachnids different from insects? Oh, there are a lot of questions in your mind. I understand completely. But what are arachnids exactly and how are they different from insects? Arachnids are 8-legged creepy creatures who would crawl all over. Have you heard about spiders? Yes, and scorpions, and ticks, and mites, and a lot more other animals who come under the class Arachnida. Let's go around into the garden and find out some for ourselves. It is not easy to find spiders unless and until you have that vision, that eye to find out how do they merge in their habitats. It is very easy to find somebody who has made a web, but one which is camouflaged in its habitat is really difficult to mark. Come, let me show you one. This you can see is the bark of a tree, and we are trying to find out a spider here which is called a bark spider. And very aptly, why is it called a bark spider? Because it stays so camouflaged in its habitat. If you can mark, I'll try to point it to it and disturb it a bit. If you try to closely observe, there is this two-tailed bark spider which is called Hersilia and is completely camouflaged with the color of the bark. If you can see it before disturbance, please try to note that this is completely camouflaged into its habitat, and very nicely it is completely the same color as that of the bark of the tree. Here if you can see, there is the web of the spider which is very carefully built, and it is an abandoned web, so it's laden with dust and dirt. But otherwise you will find eggs inside this, laid by different layers of silk, and the babies which grow out, hatch out of the eggs, are actually born inside this web. So this is the web of Hersilia, and there are different saltacid webs also which resemble the same. And here you would mostly find the female and the male at different times guarding the egg or the egg sac till the babies hatch out of them safely. So we all just saw how spiders can be so interesting in camouflaging in their habitat outside in the field. Let us now dive a bit deeper into the lives of spiders and find out how mysterious is the world of these beautiful 8-legged creatures. So here, as you see, we have divided the whole life of the spider into different parts and characteristics of this particular animal, in like babies and ballooning, mimicry, maternal care, camouflage, cannibalism, prey predation and silk webs. In this particular episode, we will look at silk webs, and in the coming episodes in future, we will take you through the rest of the journey of the life of this beautiful 8-legged creature. So when we go deeper into arachnids and try to study spiders, we see that they are arthropods. It is very common and very easy to understand what are arthropods, which are jointed legged creatures. And when you see a spider, you can know that the legs are different from the main body, and it has got two parts of the body. So let us go a bit deeper into this and see what exactly and where do spiders stand in the phylum Arthropoda. Phylum Arthropoda clearly is divided into Chelicerata, Trilobita, which is an extinct subphylum, and Mandibulata. You have Xephosura, Arachnida, and Pycnogonida, which is the sea spiders, and here you've got the different classes under Mandibulata. So we will focus on Arachnida, which is basically meant to contain all the 8-legged octopoda creatures, in which spiders also are included. When you go ahead, you can find this chart which tells you about the division and the percentage of various animals in the animal kingdom, and surprisingly, not much though, you find that insects take up 73% of the whole animal kingdom. That means a whole lot of the whole world is just insects, in fact more than 70%. And when you find out arachnids, they form 8%, which is I think the second highest to be part of the whole animal kingdom, and you can make out how many spiders do we really have. So we quickly get into the next slide, which tells us the percentage of animals in each taxa, in each phylum, which have been discovered. And when you look at insects, we have just discovered 20% of the whole insect world, whereas in arachnids, if you see, we have found out just 17% of them. So a lot more yet remain to be discovered and found out from this beautiful planet which they inhabit. So we get into the class Arachnida, focusing on Arachnida only. We find that there are these many other different kinds of animals which we find in Arachnida other than spiders, which come under Arachnida. There are scorpions, whip scorpions, palpigrades, schizomids, daddy long legs or opilions, solifugi, ricinulids, and false scorpions also. So these are a diverse group of animals which come under class Arachnida into different orders. Here you can take a look at the spider's body from the inside, that is the anatomy of the spider's body, and you can find out the positions of the intestine, the heart, the brain, the eye structures. I must mention that the eye structures in spiders, basically the ground dwelling spiders and the ambush spiders, are really very interesting and at a different level altogether than what the insect world has to offer in terms of mosaic vision. So here you can find out the book lungs, which is present over here. If you see those book-like slit plates collated together, which give it the name of the book lungs, as it is found only in arachnids, and different body parts along with the silk glands, Malpighian tubules, the gut, the position of the heart, and everything else. Interestingly, number 8 has got a different connection with the spiders. When you see the eyes, spiders have got 8 eyes, and the legs, spiders have got 8 legs. And when you look at the body of the spider, you can write a figure of 8 exactly, because the body has got just 2 parts instead of what it is like in insects, where there are 3 parts in the body. So a figure of 8 has really got a special connect with the spiders. Moving ahead to the large-bodied spiders or the mygalomorphs, there are two different, they fall into 2 different orders, the arenomorphs and mygalomorphs. From these 2 suborders, Mesothele and Opisthothele, they come into infraorders of Mygalomorphae and Arenomorphae. So Mygalomorphae contain the large-bodied spiders, or which is generally called as tarantulas, and the Arenomorphae contain the other small-bodied spiders, which are usually not very visible but are there all around us, almost omnipresent everywhere. So these large-bodied spiders fall victim into different kinds of pet trade. They are eaten up in many Southeast Asian countries, and they are also used as pets in different countries. So they are actually at potential threat, and the original status of these spiders is yet not known because of less studies in them. So we really need to go ahead and find out what can be done to conserve these large-bodied spiders. Like we discussed before, arachnophobia is one of the major causes of fear amongst people, and hatred for spiders also arise from that, because of which they are killed many times. That usually stems from their the venom, which is potentially present in almost all spiders, and they being called as venomous or non-venomous spiders. So here we are talking about venomous and non-venomous spiders, and let me tell you, in the venomous category, all spiders have venom, but in the venomous category, which is fatal for human beings or potentially dangerous for human beings, we have just very few spiders, I think 30 all across the globe, of which we do not find many in India, except just a few, which can potentially cause a serious or severe infection. None of the spiders yet reported from India have been found to be fatal for human beings, though they can cause potential threat, maybe dealing with, maybe leading to multiple organ failure or something. So we have the brown recluse spider, the Brazilian wandering spiders, which are venomous, the yellow sac spider, some wolf spiders in South America and Africa, the black widow spider, which is very famous for cannibalism, the brown widow spider, red widow spiders, basically the widow spider groups of Latrodectus genus, and some other megalomorphs which can actually incite bacterial infections and painful inflammations. So, now we know that there are venomous spiders also, and mostly in the genus Latrodectus, like we already know about the widow spider. Here, what we see is animal toxins. Now, do spiders really have venom which is toxic? We have already discussed this. So, let me tell you a little about venom. Yes, the venom in spiders can also be very toxic, sometimes fatal, which is neurotoxic in nature, mostly in the Latrodectus genus. There is also a non-venomous spider which has been reported having no venom at all, which belongs to Euloboridae family and is called the hackled orb weavers. So here you can see the picture of the hackled orb weaver. So coming to silk, like we told you, we will be talking about silk in spiders in this episode. Here we present before you a beautiful creature which has been recently discovered in Peru of South America, and is a very small tiny spider which has built this beautiful structure which you can see on the top of the slide, and is befittingly called as the silk henge. Do you see that the little bars which it has raised is also made of silk and is interconnected to save or to protect the central part of the silk cocoon, into which the babies will be from which the babies will be growing out, in which the egg is laid. And this has been done by one spider which is yet to be placed taxonomically into some group and is very recently discovered. So this is very nicely named as the silk henge, as it appropriately resembles the stone henge. Look at more pictures of silk and web structures, nests of the spiders which are made out of silk itself, the Arachnid families. You can see the complicated structures of silk webs which they spin, and this is created by just one spider. So dew photography, that is photographing spider webs when there is ample dew in the atmosphere, can actually come aid to bring out the beautiful intricate architectural marvels which the spiders can spin, and just one spider can spin this one full web. Isn't it just marvelous job? Going ahead, when we talk about silk, we know that silk is a very prized possession for the spider and will always be used very meticulously and judiciously. Here you see the orb weaver which has built a beautiful orb web, also taken under a dew day, which was a dew photography product. Here you see Argiope, or the garden cross spider, which has created a beautiful orb nicely laced with dewdrops. So spiders have got specific silk glands to produce specific silk. Some used to create the orb on which they would sit and wait for the prey to stick to it, that is food, that is to capture food and prey. Some will be used to encase their egg case or prepare the cocoon in which the eggs will be laid. The others will be used as a lifeline or the drag line from which they can swing and hang themselves to reach a particular place when there is wind and breeze. That is the toughest silk. Nephila in the or the giant foot spider is supposed to be the golden orb weaver, has got some very tough silk which has been used into different bioengineering methods and create different things, like the bulletproof jacket has been experimented also. So spider silk has got lot of potential, and to equal amount of silk it has been found to be more tough the same volume of steel. So now silk is also eaten and digested to reuse the protein content which was previously used by the spider so that it does not go to waste. Isn't it just marvelous? So specific silk for specific purpose. And before I go, a word of caution. Let us respect nature and respect the space for every creature around us, because each one of us has a responsibility towards the planet, and each creature has a right to exist on this planet. Therefore, let us be ethical conservationists. Thank you very much. Yeah. So here we come to the end of a fantastic episode of Learning in Nature, Learning with Nature, Nature Classrooms at Regional Museum of Natural History, Bhubaneswar. I hope you liked the class. Do like and share the video if you like it. I think this kind of classrooms will be a hope for future where students can learn more about nature right in their campus. See you next time.